Hey everybody, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe. It's Monday the 26th of April 2021. Welcome to the weekly news roundup from Orlando. Here are the headlines. We're going to be looking at the usual weekly stats from COVID from the US and from Florida, hospitalizations in Florida, vaccines in the country and in Florida and worldwide. The CDC this week gave the UK a level 4 travel health notice. What does that mean? President Biden is visiting the UK in early June. Is that a good sign? Jerry Demings, the Orange County Mayor, had his voice on masks this week, and the CDC as well had their voice on masks this week. Were there different opinions? The Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been given the OK for use again in the US. Paul Charles has been talking about when travel might happen outside of the UK, but where's his traffic lights chart this week? I couldn't find it. What's happened to Virgin Atlantic's first flight from Manchester? And if you can't travel direct, if you go through Atlanta, I've got a piece on that too. Okay, into Disney news. The Disney Magic at Sea starts in July. I've got a piece on that. The Skyliner crashed again this week. If you don't like the Skyliner crashed again this week. If you don't like traveling in the Skyliner, you're going to like it even less after this. More Disney resorts are opening up quite soon. Facial recognition looks like it's here to stay, at least for a while. And another COVID restriction is going away. I've got some news on the park availability calendar. That's not looking great. And then into Universal, the Velocicoaster has published its AP holder preview days. Have I got a ticket or have I not? I've got an update on the Walt Disney World Park availability calendar. That's not looking great for the next couple of months. Into Universal, and the Velocicoaster has got now annual pass holder preview days. Did I get a ticket? If I Ran the Zoo is reopening or has reopened this week, and IoA and Universal Studios both reached capacity again this week. How to avoid getting stuck outside. Okay, they are the headlines. If you're new here, do keep watching. There's some good stuff in here, I promise you. If you're old and you've watched a few of these and you've not yet subscribed, please do that. If you're new or old and you like it, please do like. Okay, let's crack on. New COVID cases in the US on Saturday, 53,280, with Florida unfortunately top of the table by over 2,000. The US 7-day moving average for new cases was 70,185 last week. This week it's 59,647, that's a 15% drop this week. Our highest 7-day average in this mini third wave has been 72,844. US active cases are now 6.9 million, and this is the third week it's been around that number. With new cases dropping and vaccinations continuing to rise at a good pace, active cases have to start dropping very soon. The US 7-day average for deaths was 741 last week, and it's 729 this week, down 1.5%. We are getting lower numbers of deaths week on week since January the 26th, when we had an average of 3,473 deaths per day. Remember, the milestone we're looking for first is 724 from October the 6th, 2020. Into Florida then, new cases in Florida on Saturday was 7,411. The 7-day moving average for new cases in Florida was 5,978 this week, down from 6,193 last week. That's a fall of 3.5%. That's still quite a way from the 4,484 which was recorded on March the 19th, 2021. Active cases in Florida were 431,000 and are now 416,000. That's a 3.5% drop. That's a lot less than on March the 19th, 2021, when we had 626,000 active cases. So even though our new cases in Florida haven't come down too much, active cases are looking much better. The 7-day average for deaths in Florida was 60 this week. That's up from 55 last week. You can see that from the graph that it's a bit up and down at the moment, but there are no significant increases, so that's a good sign. Hospitalizations in Florida last week stood at 3,253. This week it's 3,016, so that's a small drop. The number of vaccine doses delivered up to this week is 290.7 million, up 26.2 million since last week. Doses administered are up from 209.4 million to 225.6 million. It's a 6-day period this week, so that's 2.7 million a day, and it's still going strong. Looking at the chart that shows how each country is doing for a percentage of population with at least one dose. Israel 62%, the UK 49%, Chile 42%, US 41% catching up, and Europe still lagging pretty badly on 19%. The Centres for Disease Control and Prevention, commonly known as the CDC, updated its travel advice this week and determined that the UK should be in the highest level, which is 4. Here's the travel health notice for the UK. This chart shows how the CDC determines what category each country sits in, based on population, testing rate and test to case ratio. This chart shows the number of cases per 100,000 people in the UK. As at April 24th, that number is 3.69. Taking a look at where the UK was on March 24th, a month ago, that number was 8.13. So it's possible the daily number was between 5 and 50. That would put the UK in column 2 for the incidence rate, and that could be under 5 in a few days for the 28-day period, which would put the UK in column 1 for incidence rate. But I'll report on that when it happens. Now we come to the testing per case chart. As at April 21, the UK had 428 tests per case. From the test to case ratio column, the best a country can do is 30, so the UK gets more than 30. Finally, the testing ratio. This chart shows that at April 21st, 2021, the UK had 16 tests per 1,000 people, so multiply that by 100 and we get 1,600 tests per 100,000 people. The lowest in the past 28 days was just under 1,200 per 100,000. So for that criterion, the UK goes in the more than 1,200 tests per 100,000 people over 28 days column. So taking into account the UK has more than 30 tests per case, it should be rated a 2 rather than a 4. Within a few days, the UK, if it keeps under 5 cases per 100,000 people over 28 days, should move into column 1 and a rating of 1. So why then, if my maths are correct, and please somebody tell me if they're not, or if you agree with me, because I could be going bananas, but I believe the UK should be in 2 and is close to 1, but let's look at today, and I think the UK should be in category 2 rather than category 4. So what does that mean? Well, all it means at the moment for US citizens is that they're telling them not to travel, but they're not stopping them travelling. You can travel to the US. So the US citizens and certain other people can travel to the US, but under what conditions? They need to have a negative COVID test before travel. They need 2 more within 8 days of arrival into the UK and another test before they leave the UK to come back to America. I was told the cost of each test in the UK is £150, so £450 for the 3 needed while there. This is one I saw yesterday for the 2 needed to be released from UK quarantine. I've never heard of this company, but if it's legit, that's a lot less than £300. But it's still extortionate. The most I've paid over here for a COVID test, before they were free, they're all free now, is $60 in New York. So I don't know what the UK is at. I mean, these are very simple tests and very easily tested once at the testing facility. So somebody's making a lot of money out of this. So why have I gone through this level 4, level 2, level 1 thing if it doesn't mean anything to UK citizens wanting to travel, or anybody that lives in the UK wanting to travel to America? Well, why is it at level 4? Why isn't it at level 2? Does it have something to do with what's going to happen in the future when the US comes to putting its thoughts together for how is it going to determine which country can come into the US? Is it going to be a reverse of, well, the US, we're telling US citizens not to travel to this country, so we're not going to let this country travel directly to America? It could do, and it's akin to a traffic light system. It's a 4-step system, and then they've got this grey box which is like undetermined. So places like Afghanistan, they don't know what their testing regimes and cases are like, so they can't give them a category. But I would hate to think that the UK has been placed into category 4 so that the US can say, well, I'm sorry, but you're in category 4, so you can't come to the US. That would be devastating. I actually was a bit peed off with this, and I posted on the Hit the Theme Parks Facebook page and another very large Facebook group that I'm in, and I also tweeted the US State Department as they're going to administer this, and I asked them to explain why the UK was in category 4 rather than in category 2. Well, no surprise that they've not got back to me. I also tweeted Paul Charles to see if he had any idea, or whether he could get one of his guys or himself to look at this and see, am I crazy or am I correct? Unfortunately, I got nothing from him. I know that he's actually in Mexico at the moment at some big travel thing, but I don't know how big the PC agency is, but yeah, nothing, I'm afraid. If I do get any news, I will tell you. But I am keeping a really, really close eye on this, because I want to know when, in my view, the UK gets into category 1. So something else that might determine when UK flights can go directly to Orlando is President Biden's visit to the UK. That was announced earlier this week, and it's going to be his first trip outside the US since he became president in January. It could be seen as significant. He arrives on June the 11th, and the question is, will the borders be reopened before or after that date? Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings has been talking about getting rid of masks potentially for some time now. He says he wants to see 50% of people in the county vaccinated before there are any thoughts on that. So two things there. He doesn't say whether that's the first shot or fully vaccinated, and two, he says before there are any thoughts, not this would be a trigger, so plenty of wriggle room there for Mayor Demings. Also this week, the CDC are reviewing their guidance on wearing masks outdoors. Currently they say that masks should be worn and you should stay 6 feet away from other people. CNN's chief medical correspondent Sanjay Gupta went much further, saying that for the most part you don't need to wear a mask outdoors. The percentage of people in the US who have had at least one dose of vaccine was 39.5% last week, and that's risen to 42.2% this week. 28.5% of the population are now fully vaccinated, and that's up from 25.4% last week. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was last week suspended by the CDC, has now been recommended by the CDC to resume again after it undertook a safety review. That will again help to lift the number of fully vaccinated people, as it's a one-shot thing. Florida ranks 19th now in the country for its share of people who have received at least one dose of vaccine. No change on Florida's position since last week. It stayed in 25th place for the share of people fully vaccinated. No further news on when cruises will set sail again from the US. That's after a couple of weeks of news on Governor DeSantis threatening to sue the CDC, and also legislation being introduced that would try and get around the CDC's mandate that no sailings will happen before November the 1st. The latest from Paul Charles this week is that the UK government will reveal which countries are in the red, amber and green zones on May the 6th or 7th. This doesn't mean travel will resume on May the 17th. The same article states that the US will open its borders to the UK on or before the 4th of July. I really don't know why it couldn't be earlier than that, given that the US is doing pretty well now. Its vaccination program is superb, and we're going from strength to strength each week. Cases are kind of coming down, not by much, but they are coming down, and I can only foresee that getting better as the vaccination rollout continues. But this is about letting people in, not about what's going on in the US or US people travelling to other places. So if the UK is doing better than the US, and it is, both in the number of cases pro rata and in the number of people vaccinated currently, then why wouldn't the UK be allowed in? Because then it would be on the UK government whether it wanted its people to go to the US or not. That's a different question, but I just don't foresee why it would be as late as July the 4th or close to July the 4th. I still think it could be in June. I'm not sure it will be in May, but I think it could be earlier than July the 4th. On to then looking at how Virgin's first flight out of Manchester on the 17th of May is doing. Here's the prices from last week. And that's as far as it goes. There's no prices this week because it's cancelled that flight. You can now see that there are only indirect flights to JFK and Atlanta. And the prices have actually increased. So not only do you not travel directly, but you now have to go through a different city to get to Orlando. The only difference is for upper class flights, which are £1,300 cheaper. If you are considering flying through Atlanta, either on Virgin or with a Virgin code share with Delta, I was there last week, took some video of how to get from Concourse F, where you would arrive from the UK, to the rest of the concourses. Atlanta is a huge airport and the busiest airport in the world, but don't let that faze you. The video also includes a quick tour of Concourse F if you find yourself with time to kill on your return journey. I'll be having a look at direct flights from the UK next week, more direct flights from the UK and when they start and who's going to be travelling, who's going to be flying. But if you want a larger chunk of that video, then I'm going to be putting that up later this week, so the full video will be up later this week. Disney news then. So Disney Magic at Sea. Disney can't sail from the US at the moment, but it will be sailing from the UK in July. It will be cruising out of Liverpool, Southampton, Newcastle and Tilbury, starting on the 15th of July, and the last cruise will be leaving on the 1st of October. Cruises will be 2, 3 and 4 nights long. They're called staycations because although Disney hasn't specifically said this on their website, and there aren't itineraries to tell you exactly what's going to happen on board, you leave port, you sail around for 2, 3 or 4 days, and you come back to port. So if you've ever seen Hale and Pace, that's a little bit, and maybe you're too young to have seen Hale and Pace, but it's a little bit like Yorkshire Airlines.
Yorkshire Airlines, departing Leeds International Airstrip, touching down 20 minutes later at Leeds International Airstrip. Because if it's outside Yorkshire, it's not worth bloody visiting.
Apologies for the appalling quality. That I think was 240, and that's the best I could find. You can start booking these cruises from the 28th of April for Platinum Castaway Club members and Gold Castaway Club members, and for Golden Oak Club members. It's April the 29th for DVC members, Adventure Insiders and Silver Castaway Club members, and April the 30th for everybody else. Note that if you're over 18, you will need to be fully COVID vaccinated to go on one of these cruises. Two Skyliners collided at Hollywood Studios this week. This photo was shot by Next Stop Main Street. The Skyliner was reported to be up and running again after a few hours, and nobody was reported to be injured. So if you don't like the Skyliner, this is the second time this has happened. We haven't been told why it happened, why one crashed into another one, but it seems to only happen in stations. It's only happened twice, and it's happened in stations. It hasn't happened while, you know, people have been suspended in the air and one's been stopped or one's slowed down, another one has crashed into it 50 feet off the ground. So that's the good thing. I'm hoping Disney get to grips with this and sort it out and it never happens again, but I love it. I love the Skyliner. Some people don't. My wife gets a bit travel sick with it, but I think it's a great idea to get around, and some of these resorts bang on the Skyliner, and you can get to Hollywood Studios and Epcot by it rather than going on a bus or driving. It's great. More Disney resorts are opening soon, starting with the Beach Club accepting bookings for arrivals on May the 30th, Wilderness Lodge on June the 6th, and finally the Boardwalk Inn on July the 2nd. The facial recognition testing that started on March the 23rd at Magic Kingdom has been extended indefinitely, as you can see by this change in wording on Disney's website. Let me know if you participate and what you think about it. I won't be going to Magic Kingdom for at least a couple of weeks, so I would like to know what people think about it if you are going. Disney continues to roll back its COVID restrictions. A couple of weeks ago, guests were told they could take off their masks for photos. Last week, Disney started removing wash hand stations, and this week they've brought back self-serve soda machines in certain places. It's hoped that these machines will be back in all resorts and parks shortly, and that should speed up service a heck of a lot. So you don't need a cast member in a roped off area now asking you what you had before and giving you a fresh cup to get a new drink in. So good news again, just hopefully the start of many things to come. Looking at the Disney Parks Availability Calendar then, in April, what remains in April for theme park ticket holders and resort guests, just Epcot left. For annual pass holders, April the 29th is best for you. Into May, and it's not looking good at all for that whole month for theme park ticket holders and resort guests. The 29th shows the best availability for you guys. June isn't looking fantastic either, with Hollywood Studios showing zero availability for theme park tickets and resort guests, and Magic Kingdom with only a handful of days left. No problems at all for annual pass holders though. Things are now beginning to get a little bit busy in July for the 4th of July holiday weekend, with Magic Kingdom unavailable for theme park tickets and resort guests on the 4th itself. The other yellow days are showing Hollywood Studios unavailable. We're then green up to October the 1st, where Magic Kingdom is fully booked for theme park tickets and resort guests. Both Magic Kingdom and Epcot are unavailable for annual pass holders, and then we're all green again right the way up to January the 14th, 2023, which is currently when they're taking reservations up to. Into Universal then, and the Jurassic World Velocicoaster now has confirmed dates for annual pass holder previews. I got this email on Thursday, jumped straight on it thankfully. I was lucky enough to get the first slot on Sunday the 2nd of May, which is 9 till 9:30, so I'll be doing some video from there. I don't know if I might go live, I'm not sure yet. If I do, I'll tell you beforehand though. On the back of Camp Jurassic opening up in Islands of Adventure last week, we now have If I Ran the Zoo Kids Play Area reopened in Islands of Adventure also. Both dry parks at Universal reached capacity again this week, this time on Saturday. That seems to be a reoccurring theme at Universal. So again, my advice is get there early, especially if you're not a resort guest. Resort guests are being told, so I'm told, that they can rock up even if the parks are full and they will still get in. So Universal may be holding capacity back for resort guests. That's anecdotal. It doesn't say that on their website. And definitely, if you're not a resort guest, do get there early if you want to get in and not be disappointed, if you want to be sure to get in. If you get there when they are at capacity, you will have to wait in a line until people come out. It's going to be one in, one out, one in, I'm afraid. That's this week's news then, guys. Hopefully you got something useful out of that. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. It does help the algorithm spread this video out to other people, and hopefully they can watch it as well and we can grow the channel. If you like the videos that much, please do subscribe. That helps out enormously as well. Just gives the channel a bit more credibility. But thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe till next week. Have a great week, and I'll see you then. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.